This is for entertainment purposes only. This short story is only for people over the age of 18.
Oh my god. Hypnosis is awesome. Brad from psych class had been bragging he could hypnotize anyone. Amy and June took him up on his offer and they just laughed at him after 20 minutes. I didn't laugh, but I felt something while he was trying to put them under. I caught up with him the next day and asked him to hypnotize me and he said yes. We just finished and I feel amazing. It is like the best massage I've ever had. It is like I had 8 hours of really good sleep without the back pain. I practically begged him to do it again.
I have no idea what the hell Christy was talking about claiming I could hypnotize anyone. Amy and June wanted to find out if they could be hypnotized. They could, but not the deep hypnosis that some people believe in. They were conscious and aware and giggling when I had them visualize their toes in a stream of water. Did Amy and June go fully under? No. Did Christy when she begged me to hypnotize her? Yes. When I had Christy go under, and she hit rock bottom faster than I'd ever heard of. She was so open to anything I said that it was really tempting to see if I could have her strip naked for me. Tempting, but we were in the South study pit, and everyone else studying for midterms would probably been distracted. So next week, Friday, her place, and we'll try again.
Brad told me I was a very good subject. What I didn't think he would do was make me focus on my schoolwork. I'd been fantasizing for days about being turned into his zombie sex slave, and here I woke up with no memory of what happened when I was under, and the only thing I wanted to do was hit the books. I'm not that bad of a student. I get C's. Mostly. Brad offered to help me study. Maybe I need to go slower with him. Maybe he's not into thick girls and I need to diet and exercise. I can do that.
When you have a woman under hypnosis, it is really hard for them to lie to you. Christy told me how she had a crush on me and wanted to do many things to me. As tempting as that is, I'm not sure I can do that. Let's just say I have not been attracted to fat girls. Ever. I'm far more interested in athletic or muscular women. My first crush as a teen was for my gym teacher, and she was ripped because she was doing CrossFit and a part-time fitness model. That set the bar pretty damn high when it came to other women. Still, if Christy wanted to have a chance with me, and I would let her if she dropped a lot of fat and built some muscle.
Brad is so smart. Since I wanted to start exercising, he suggested I either record the classes or pull the lecture from the internet and listen to things while I work out. I need to get better earbuds that don't fall out of my head when I'm all sweaty. I've also started to diet to shed some serious poundage. I've not sworn off sugar entirely. I have a system where after I've read a page, provided I don't have it on audio to listen to, and waiting at the bottom of the page is a gummy bear, my forbidden sweet. I don't get that sweet until I've revised what I just wrote so I understand what I just read. Brad thinks that's an incredible system and swears he didn't put it in my head. He could put something else in me and I would be a lot happier. He instead speaks softly to me and I feel myself drop, and when I wake up, I'm horny but focused on exercising, dieting and studying. I hope my adult life isn't always like this.
I had hypnotized Christy nearly every day for 3 weeks straight. I don't think she even remembers I did it most of the time. We're going on break soon, and she wants me to call her and put her under while she's with her parents. I think that is a very bad idea. Her parents have money, like really fuck you money, and if they don't like that I have some level of control over their daughter, well, I will say her weeks of dieting and exercising has really paid off, and I heard that her finals were going well.
I have all A's and B's on my finals. I didn't think that I would ever get that good of grades before in my life. I have dramatically been changing for the better. Thank Brad for that. Oh God, I want to fuck him. I wake up from hypnosis and I'm all light and relaxed, and then I see him and I want to tackle him to the floor and do so many things to his naked body. I don't know or care if he's making me want to feel like this under hypnosis. He's amazing, and as much as I want to never say this out loud, I love him. I just wish he would feel the same way about me. I'm doing the one thing everyone, and I mean every single woman on earth, has said not to do. I'm changing myself for a man. I am. I admit to it. Really, I'm changing myself for the better. I know I'm overweight still, but I'm cutting calories and exercising daily to change myself. I'm far more focused than I was before. I've cut out the drinking and partying for studying and retaining lectures. Mother says I'm becoming more adult. Father says he's proud of me and to keep focusing on what's important. Brad is important to me.
I kissed Christy. I should say I kissed Christy back. We'd been back from break for about a week, and Christy and I have not been able to meet up during the day as much given our schedules. At night, we've been going to the gym together. I am so weak. 4 days of training and seeing Christy give it her all, and I try to keep up until my body gives out and I need a break. Christy has really shrunk over the past few months. I mean really shrunk as in size. Apparently for Christmas she asked for a whole new wardrobe since she's shrunk so much. She also got exercise clothes that were a bit small on her, but this was because she claimed she was going to lose even more weight. Her running shoes cost more than every article of clothing I have, combined. She still wants me to hypnotize her daily, and after our workout I do. This last time I put her under and really dug into her psyche. She has a bit of a control fetish. Not she wants to be in control, but choose who controls her. Her parents never put the fist down on her, and let her do whatever she wanted, for the most part. Christy always wanted to pick the person that would tell her what to do, what she wanted, who she was. She picked me. She wanted a leader, but one that would guide, not force her, and let her decide what she wanted. What she wanted was me in very graphic detail. When I woke her up, she must have remembered something because she kissed me, full on the lips. I kissed back. Did my subconscious mind tell me what I truly wanted? Am I overthinking things?
I kissed Brad and I liked it. I loved it. I came out of hypnosis and I felt so open, honest, free. I kissed Brad. I started by thinking I would just give him a peck on the lips. I didn't stop. Then he had his hands on my arms holding me to him. He was kissing me back. I was lost. I have never been that aroused before in my life. I'm not kidding. I felt my body hotter than any workout. My vagina was raging. I was actually getting wet like I was actually going to have sex with Brad. I wanted to have sex with Brad. I want to have sex with Brad. Brad made it clear that his interests are in athletic women. I've seen his phone. He has a lot of his memory tied up with women with athletic bodies. Oddly not naked, but in very skimpy bikinis with very large breasts and abs. I'm adding stomach crunches to my workouts. I've never been this thin or strong before in my life. Brad wants a gym hottie, then look out, I will be scorching.
Christy met my parents. I'm only majorly devastated. My parents heard about me talk about Christy a lot. They insisted when they came for a visit we all go to dinner together. Dad's a plumber and Mom makes decorative pillowcases with a shop online. They took to Christy like she was their daughter. I don't know when I told my parents that I hypnotize Christy daily, but Dad asked if that was a big part of our relationship. Christy answered before me that it was. That was not what I was going to say to my dad. Christy made it sound like it was a way for us to be open with each other, and as we got to know each other, are we the right fit? That sounded better than saying she wanted to be my hypnotized sex slave. Mom liked Christy's answer and started talking about how she and Dad met and dated for 3 years. Then Mom and Dad took us shopping for college stuff, mostly food. I don't think Christy ever went to such a lowbrow store before. I introduced her to canned meat and instant noodles. She hates them. When my parents left and we went back to my room, I don't think the door was fully closed before we were making out.
How did Brad get that body eating that crap? Maybe all that salt in the food has preserved him somehow. He does taste a little salty, but that's partly because I nibble his ear after a workout. Brad's parents are nice. I literally went onto my phone and ordered one of his mother's pillowcases for my room as soon as I could. Those are so cute. His dad is the kind of person my father would expect to wear booties on his boots before entering our home. Looking at it from my life, Brad grew up in a household that had to worry about bills at the end of the month. I grew up wondering which outfit to wear when I went riding that afternoon. It made me think about, did I want to be with a person who, in comparison to my father, was poor? Brad was doing marketing and sales, learning the laws of everything, seeing that only wealthy people in his world were those that could sell something. My father bought and combined companies, making them profitable. Smart and ambitious could describe father or Brad. Was I substituting my father for Brad? No, I flat out am not doing that. I am seeing similarities, however. Take the things I like about my father and throw in more things I like and you get Brad. I just wish Brad would throw something into me over and over again, making me moan and scream.
Usually when I hypnotize Christy, my first question after she's under is what she is thinking. Unsurprising, most of the time it has to do with sex. One of the reasons why I haven't pursued this is because I don't want to disappoint Christy. She's become the most important part of my life, and I don't want her to be anything but thrilled with me. This day, however, she was thinking she wanted me to make her into my hypnotized puppet. Apparently, someone saw something online where people were made to do things under hypnosis that seemed against their will. Their conscious will, at least. Post-hypnotic triggers and behavior modification, and Christy wanted me to control her without consciously knowing I could, only that I did. Seeing as we were getting close to spring break, and I was curious what Christy looked like in a bikini, I agreed.
I knew Brad was up to something as soon as I came out of hypnosis. He had that smile like he knew something I didn't and was going to tease me with it. Really was kind of terrifyingly hot. We were in my room and had just finished doing our homework together when Brad brought up spring break. I offered to take him to my family's beach house. My aunt lives there, takes care of things, but really it belongs to father. Brad agreed, but only if I wore a bikini at least once. I do not have a bikini-ready body. Am I thinner? Yes. Do I still have cottage cheese thighs? Yes, and it pains me to see them. I do look much better than I did 6 months ago. I have biceps that I know turns Brad on because we're making out as soon as I flex. I still have a gut and loose skin. I was not bikini-ready in my eyes. Then Brad said something that had the word bikini in it. As soon as he said that, I had to make sure the bikini I had fit. It was absolutely the most important thing to me in the world. I was taking off my clothes in front of Brad without even thinking about it. I was digging out the bikini from my drawers while my fat ass was wiggling in Brad's face. Then I was asking Brad to tie the back of my bikini for me. Brad's wide smile made me realize that not only had I been totally naked in front of Brad, but now I had on one of the skimpiest types of clothing made by man. I confronted Brad as to if he hypnotized me to do that, and he admitted without hesitation he did. I was so fucking turned on. I threw myself on him and let him feel every part of me he wanted. We did so much with just our clothes on. I got to reach down his pants and feel his manhood. It felt hard and thick and long, and I really wanted him naked, or at least as naked as I was. Then one of my breasts fell out of the bikini and I was distracted by Brad doing things with his tongue and teeth to my nipple that made me cry out in a mix of pleasure and pain. I begged for more hypnotic mental tampering. He teased me more by telling me to wait.
What is wrong with me? I have a woman ready to do anything I wanted, and I mean anything I wanted, with her, and I'm hesitating. I could make her give me a blowjob with the snap of my fingers. I could make her nude with a word. I could turn her into a robot at a sound. She's already a sex machine. Why haven't I taken her? Even when I know she loves to be mentally dominated, why do I hesitate? Took me a long time to think about that. I realized that I didn't want a woman that was only after sex. Don't get me wrong, sex sounds amazing, but a relationship that is centered around sex doesn't last. That was one of the first things they taught you in psychology class. You need physical, mental, and emotional connections before even considering sex, if you want the relationship to last. I will say the emotional was there when I made Christy put on that bikini. It was so hot to see her mind make her want to put on the bikini right in front of me. I could have smacked that bare ass in my face, and we both would have loved it. The next day Christy was fully clothed, maybe more than she needed to be given it was a warm day. She teased me that I would simply have to make her put on a bikini. Instead, I gave her another trigger that put her to sleep instantly, and had her disrobe in a trance, and when I brought her out she didn't realize she was naked until we finished our homework.
I had an orgasm. I'm not kidding. I had an actual orgasm. Brad gave me an orgasm without touching me or intending to do so. After the whole bikini thing, I wanted more. So, I was wearing way too much after our workout together and back at my room, and I wondered when he would make me put the bikini on before we did our homework together. I really was hoping the string bikini I ordered got to me before spring break so I could put that on for Brad. Then Brad said something and my mind slipped into hypnosis. Think slipped as in on ice because it was that quick. I was eyeing my drawer saying that my bikini was in the top of my dresser, but I had no intention of putting it on. I was lying, but so what? Then Brad said something and waved his hand in front of my face and I was out. I came out of trance and Brad was grinning. I looked down at myself and it seemed to me nothing was different. I was a little on the cold side and wondered if I was getting a touch of the flu or something. Brad and I started our homework and I kept hinting that my bikini would look sexier on my body than in the drawer. I wondered why Brad was looking me up and down so often. When we finally finished our homework, I was going to go out to the bathroom in the hall, but then Brad said something I didn't catch, but my subconscious mind did. I realized I was naked. The entire time we were doing homework, I was naked, completely naked. Brad had made me strip naked, sit there not realizing it for 2 hours. That level of control over my mind tipped something over. I'd been so horny thinking that Brad could make me wear what he wanted, that it never occurred to me he wanted me to wear nothing at all. The fact he wanted to see my naked and pudgy body, that he could make me show it to him and not even be aware of it. Smash every sexual button I have and set off the fireworks. It was a strong orgasm, but disappointingly short. It still left me a sweaty mess, and I ended up taking a shower right away. If we weren't in a woman's only dorm, I would have invited Brad in with me. Under that water, I was wondering if Brad wouldn't take full control over me with someone else.
I made Christy have an orgasm. I didn't mean to. I'm not sorry I did. I learned later that week that Christy was about ready to rip my clothes off and have her way with me. She wanted other things too. She wanted me to dominate her mind so much that she was unable to resist my control over what she said, did, thought, and acted. She then admitted that if I didn't take control over her in all things, she had been considering finding someone else who would. It was the first time since hypnotizing Christy that I gave her a flat-out command. She would absolutely not go looking for someone else to be her, and this is the first time I used this word, master. Even hypnotized as deeply as she was, she shivered with delight. I wanted to keep Christy. She'd become so much a part of me. To have her go to someone else just shocked me to my senses. If I wanted to keep Christy, I had to control her. I made a list of commands as Christy was under, and each of them were a different way to control Christy's mind, body, and soul. I tried to not let on how hot that made me, but with confirming each command I could smell how hot Christy was getting.
I came out of trance that day before midterms feeling different. Not different in a bad way. I was feeling like something had changed in my relationship with Brad. I was about to ask Brad when he told me to shut my mouth. I did and couldn't open it. I couldn't. It was like my lips were stuck together with glue or something. It took me a moment to realize that Brad had implanted more hypnotic commands in me. It was so hot. I was literally flooding my panties with desire for Brad. I wanted him to take me in mind, body, and soul, and he was finally doing so. Another command and I couldn't get onto my knees fast enough. Brad stood up and for a moment hesitated. I was face to crotch with him and I could see how hard he was. Brad's voice cracked when he told me to take down his pants and underwear. Boxers, of course, and out came Brad's member. I was so close that when his manhood was freed it hit me in the face. I was leaking through my panties into my exercise pants at that point. Was I really going to get to taste Brad? Was he really going to put all 10 inches of his rod into my mouth? Would I gag? Would it feel weird? I reached up to touch Brad's third leg and then he said something. My arms were flung behind me and held at wrist and elbow by unseen ropes. My mouth hung open but I still could not say a word, like my vocal cords were frozen. Brad let me know that I could break free anytime I felt uncomfortable. What was uncomfortable was not having his dick in my mouth. I leaned forward to get him going and going he did. I'd given one blowjob in my life. Only one. William at the private school I went to got me drunk at a party and I wanted to know what it was like. With William I didn't like it. With Brad I was about to climax as soon as his second head touched the back of my mouth. Brad was much thicker than William and longer too. I would have cut off my air supply just to fit Brad all the way into me. So I did. The meaty and salty taste of Brad was better than anything I'd ever tasted. When a chef claimed his food was like sex, he was wrong. Nothing was like Brad in my head in more ways than one. He filled my mouth and I knew to keep my teeth away. I was slobbering and moaning. When Brad started stroking in and out of my mouth, it tipped me over the edge. I pulled off Brad for fear of biting his dick off. It was a glorious orgasm that made me see stars. The first thing I did focus on as my hips were still bucking was Brad's shiny dick, which I sucked back into my mouth. Brad warned me that he was going to come. I pulled back so just his head was on the dark side of my lips and then I felt his body tense. Growing up, food was considered an experience. The taste was part of what food was, but it also mattered the environment, the sounds, the texture, the color of the tablecloth, the centerpiece, and even the plates all were part of what food was. With Brad, the taste of his seed was not that important. but the experience enhanced things to the point that just having him ejaculate into my mouth was delicious. Brad snagged a tissue off my desk, but I swallowed before that was needed. I tried to talk to thank Brad, but I found my voice was still frozen. I was still hypnotized. I was still under Brad's control. My already hot and eager body found this mental trigger of control so magnificent that I had another orgasm.
I keep telling myself that I'm not using Christy. I'm giving her what she wants. She wants me to have control over her. I love her so much that I will give her what she wants. Over spring break, we did go to her beach house. Her aunt, Catherine, is super cool. In my room, on my first night there, under my suitcase, was a strip of condoms. Like I said, super cool. Catherine must have heard Christy coming over to my room in the middle of the night that first night. I did. She got under my covers, and soon we were both naked. We did so many things to each other's naked bodies that I could write a book about it. The only thing we didn't do was what the condoms were there for. Christy and I did not have sex. We did just about everything else. I'd never licked a woman before. I'd had sex at a drunken Deep Woods party one time, and I must have done something wrong because I did not enjoy it. It didn't help that first time I was drunk. She was grossly fat, and I kept slipping out. With Christy, we touched, licked, kissed every inch of each other's bodies. Throughout the week, I used every hypnotic trigger on my list. Christy was tied up with hypnotic ropes to spread eagle and be mute and helpless to me. I hypnotically removed her gag reflex while she was giving me a blowjob. In front of Catherine, I set a trigger that made Christy slip off her sandal and rub my crotch with her foot, making me hard. The look on Christy's face as she no longer had control over her leg, but could feel everything, was priceless. Floating in the ocean water, I had Christy, against her will, put her hands down my pants, massaging my dick to full hardness, and letting my seed into the Atlantic Ocean. I'd never licked a woman before, but I did with Christy. I had to take her off mute, but to keep quiet, as she told me how to pleasure her. I made sure she remembered how she felt right before she climaxed, so she could drag that memory and feeling up again on command to be hot and ready when I wanted. Between that, the partying, the music, the dancing, the everything, it was the wildest spring break I'd ever had.
I want Brad to fuck me. We've done almost everything but fuck. It's driving me nuts. Aunt Catherine knew we were up to something, so she confronted me about it. He wanted to make sure Brad was using protection. I've told Aunt Catherine things I've never told my parents. He's cool like that. That's why I felt comfortable telling Aunt Catherine about Brad hypnotizing me and controlling me. Aunt Catherine was not cool with that. That night Brad and I were forced to have a sit-down with Aunt Catherine and explain things. We did. We went over the whole story with Aunt Catherine. She still wasn't convinced. Brad ended up putting me under, and apparently Aunt Catherine asked me questions. I don't remember any of this. When I came out, she was a little less worried. A little chit-chat about real hypnosis versus the movies, and Aunt Catherine wanted to be hypnotized. Brad agreed, and later than I realized, Brad put Aunt Catherine under. Brad chuckled when Aunt Catherine went under so fast and far that I went to get a bottle of water, and by the time I came back she was almost completely under Brad's direction. It was hot seeing someone go under hypnosis, but a family member I grew up with was even hotter. Brad did with Aunt Catherine what he did with me, put her under, made her relaxed, and then brought her out. Aunt Catherine offered that if I ever got bored with Brad that she would take him. Aunt Catherine also understood why I liked hypnosis so much. She was also glad to know that we were building our relationship on mutual interests and not just sex. If nothing else, by the end of the week we had Aunt Catherine's blessings.
Back to college life after a week of fun is torture. I wasn't counting down the weeks before summer break, or anything. Also, not thinking about if I didn't find my own summer job in a week, then I was going to be doing plumbing with my dad. This semester Christy was getting all A's, and I couldn't have been prouder of her. She had changed so much in body and mind that she was not the same woman as who started the school year. What hadn't changed was her desire for me. Was it still in that lust phase? Yes, mostly. She still wanted to be hypnotized, daily. She still wanted to fuck me, more than daily. She also accepted that we needed to form a relationship that was not just sex. And that's when we found something so odd and uncommon that neither of us thought it was something we'd be interested in. A warm day on campus, one of the clubs set up different little event booths. One of those was horseshoe tossing. None of these shoes had ever been on a horse, but it was oddly fascinating. Christy and I were having a blast. I never, ever, in my wildest dreams, considered that I would enjoy horseshoe tossing. It is a sport that you wouldn't see on many sports channels, but it is out there, and it is much bigger than I thought it could be. Christy and I played until they shut things down. A strip of ground, 2 poles driven into the dirt, and a handful of horseshoes between us, and that's the game. We sort of took over a spot of ground between 2 buildings, just big enough for a horseshoe tossing green. We'd play a little between classes, just to take the edge off. Of course, Christy and I would have competitions. The winner would decide what we did that night. The only thing off the table was fucking. When Christy won, she said she wanted to give me a tit fuck while she still had tits, which were shrinking by the day. A lot more baby oil is involved with tit fucking than I expected. I'm not disappointed, just surprised.
The look on my face when I realized I liked horseshoe tossing probably matched my parents. I told mother and father about this sport, and when father confirmed that this was an actual sport and not something made up for the movies, neither claimed to be interested, but supported me if I liked it. I had them ship over any horseshoes from the stables that were suitable. I didn't tell them that I was playing for the right to make Brad control me. They wouldn't have understood. I win and I can have Brad make me do whatever I wanted. If he wins, he can do whatever he wanted with me. I see this as a win-win. There was that one night I wanted in his pants and didn't finish the project that was due the next day, and Brad used his win to make me finish my project. I couldn't resist his command, but since we were working in my room, I did so without clothes on. My breasts are shrinking badly. I was told by mother that if I wasn't so young, my skin would be hanging off me in sheets. A lovely thought that almost made me vomit. The clothes that were tight on me before were now hanging loose on me. My muscles had developed so much that my legs and ass were developed enough to see the muscles under my skin as I walked. My biceps and triceps were much larger than lots of men have. I'm still pudgy and my thighs still have some fat deposits making me look lumpy, but I'm working on that and Brad loves it. I kept thinking about how Brad likes women with big breasts. I don't have big breasts anymore. I looked at his phone again and noticed he hadn't added any more photos of big-breasted and muscular women in bikinis since our first kiss. Clearly those breasts were fake. They didn't even look like the saline solution breasts that some women got to make themselves look large but natural. These were silicone breast implants and I wanted them. It didn't feel like a hypnotic command. It felt like love for Brad to give him everything he wanted. I wanted to be everything he wanted. What did Brad want?
What did I want? Fuck me, I don't know. Did I want a motorcycle? Yes. Did I want a stable, well-paying job that could provide for a family that loves me? Yes, more than a motorcycle. I wanted, and this will sound cheesy, Christy to love me forever. Did we fight? Sure, all couples fight. It comes down to listening to what the other person is saying, and weighing that to what they mean. Did she want to rip the throat out of the guy who smacked her ass at the gym, like she said? No, not really. She meant that she was offended that someone would take advantage of her like that. I did step in and berate him until he apologized. I care deeply for Christy. I love her. I know she said she loves me. Does she mean it? Is it just the hypnosis talking? Am I making her think she loves me because I'm giving her what she lusts for? Or what she needs? This doubt is really what was distracting me from studying.
Brad is distracted. I got his attention when I talked about getting breast implants. That was fleeting. He kept looking at me and then his eyes would focus on something far, far away and nothing I said or did within reason brought him back. I wanted to hypnotize him so I could find out what he was thinking. It hit me that this was a great idea. If we were really finding out if we were a good fit for each other, then just my mind being open wasn't fair. So I told Brad what I wanted. He quickly agreed. Let me tell you, I found it so fucking hot to hypnotize Brad that if I didn't write down the questions I had for him, I wouldn't have done what I needed to do. It took a surprisingly long time to get Brad under. It took just as long to get him totally open to me. Then I found out why. Stupid man. Lust was absolutely tied to love. As humans we look at the physical before the mental. Physical is the animal attraction, mental is the emotional attraction, and the two combined is the spiritual attraction. So what? that he wouldn't be as wealthy as father right away. I didn't want to live in a trailer, but I did want to live with Brad. It is a woman's prerogative to make her man be more. Deeply hypnotized, I started getting Brad to understand what I was thinking and make him more into the man I wanted.
I came out of hypnosis and remembered everything. Every time she called me a stupid man, she was right. I was being stupid. It wasn't that hard. Christy loved me, and part of that love was lust. Act on the lust, cultivate the love, and it was that simple. When I came out of the trance, it was the first time that I truly let my love for Christy show. We did not have sex. I did give her an orgasm, multiple orgasms, hypnotically triggered orgasms. I loved that I could bring her such pleasure. I would be rubbing her mound, and with a few words she would be jerking with an orgasm. I would get her hot and aroused, then put her to sleep, hypnotically, only to have her waking up from her trance in the middle of a thunderous orgasm. She was giving me a blowjob, and I hypnotically commanded her to feel my dick not just in her mouth, but also in her vagina. Each push into her face was like I was pushing into her slit. She believed this was happening, just not thinking too hard on how. Her orgasm was glorious. Letting my load out on her face made her squeal with pleasure. She even took a selfie of her cum-covered face and chest. One time while doing homework, I made her into a robot. Each time she finished a homework problem, she would have to get up, come over to me, give me a single bob of her head on my dick, and then go back to homework. By the time she finished her homework, and this snapped her out of her robot mode, she came over and gave me a proper blowjob. She retained everything for her finals. I was having to work twice as hard to remember everything.
How big should I make my breast? That was a question I put to Brad, Aunt Catherine, and myself. The surgeon said that 800 cubic centimeters of silicone was the largest he would ever do for anyone first time. The skin and other tissue had to stretch, and anything more would cause problems. I told Mother about my desire to look like a woman again. She gave me less of a hard time about it than I expected. Mother admitted that my weight loss had taken away some of my womanly curves. She also suggested I reduce my daily exercising. That wasn't going to happen. With summer break, I had more time to hit the gym. Father was less understanding about my desire for breast implants. He said that women should accept what nature had provided. When I pointed out that people wore contacts and glasses as well as get laser surgery on their eyes, Father rightly pointed out that sight was necessary, large breasts or not. The next day I was told they would pay for half of my breast enhancement surgery. One boob, I could hear Brad in my head. I had to come up with the other half. So much for a quiet summer. Much to my surprise, a job fell into my lap. The gym I went to wanted people to work there as desk staff as well as trainers. Get paid where I went anyhow, sure. I became the young trainer that a bunch of old guys wanted. It felt empowering to tell people what to do. I told Brad this, and he said that I shouldn't let it get to my head. My first paycheck was disappointingly small. Doing the math, I would have to work all summer, spend no money, and would have just enough to pay for my half. It would be worth it. I just wish I could see Brad more over the summer.
I miss Christy. We talk every day on the phone. We text multiple times a day. We even do video chatting and things that are not chatting. Each night I hypnotized her over the phone, making my control over her that more solid. I just wish I could see her in person, but right then I had something more important. I landed a job in sales for a hot tub and supplies company. I made a program to give me the names and numbers of people in a widening circle around the store that could afford the space and money on a hot tub. Daily I would start making calls. I'd set up a program online to see who was announcing they got a raise or payday of some kind on the internet, and I'd hit them up for a hot tub. I used AI to scan satellite photos for addresses with hot tubs and call them about purchasing supplies from us. When I was making about 3 sales of new hot tubs a week and several sales of materials in a day, I asked what was usual. Apparently, I was doing about 3 times what was considered a good week. This was not reflected as much in my paycheck. I complained about my commission rate and was told that sales over the phone didn't count. Being young and acting naive, I just said I'd stop making sales on the phone and just hope people would walk in on their own. Yeah, that worked. My next paycheck was 3 times what my last one was. I took a weekend to go see Christy and treat her like a queen for a day. I didn't realize how much I missed her until I had her in my arms and we were kissing. It hurt to leave her again, but she had some old leering guy to whip into shape.
Surgery sucks. I got my surgery a week before going back for my senior year of college. I missed how I was going to be unable to exercise for a week. A full week of nothing. No weightlifting. No cardio. No stomach crunches. How am I supposed to develop abs for Brad if I can't do stomach crunches? I didn't go for the largest possible breast implants. I didn't have the money for them. I did get the half a liter of silicone on each side. I didn't look obscene and I think that pleased everyone. I know Brad was pleased. I was still tender when he first got his hands on me, and as much as I loved it, I had to swat his hands away. Gentle was the name of the game and I wanted to play. Brad was telling me how he got his summer job, and that had given him some experience that had spilled over to our senior year. I was so happy for him that he claimed to be able to do some work at night or the morning to earn money so his parents didn't have to pay so much. Admittedly, he was putting things right into the stock market. That was my wheelhouse. I used everything I learned in college and next to father and looked for investments that would do well over time. This involved lots of current event research and striking on a rumor, and not when it was 2 weeks past a corporate announcement. Brad brought in the money and I made it grow. We discussed things like that while playing horseshoes. It was a good time being with Brad. It felt like I was an adult doing adult things with an adult that I couldn't live without. I still wanted to fuck Brad. I wanted to fuck him all the time. I was not obsessed with fucking Brad, however. It seemed like I was being distracted from his dick with everything else. But really, knowing that I was helping Brad not have to worry about money was kind of a relaxing happiness that made what sexual things we did do together far more enjoyable. I still loved being hypnotized and finding myself doing things against my will. By this time, however, I knew Brad and I were linked forever, and that made the emotional connection stronger than the lust.
I want to fuck Christy. I mean it. She is amazing. In the 2 months after coming back to college, I have seen her in a new light I'd never seen before. She seems to just know what stocks were going to do well, and which are going to tank like the Titanic. She makes it look effortless. I make calls and online chats, in the morning and night, trying to sell speech-to-text tools for companies, home, office, and school all around the globe. I make a good bit of money like this, especially in areas where things are being developed and progress is being made to welcome the future. Then Christy takes what I've made and makes it balloon in ways I don't understand. She does, and that's what's impressive. Christy has brains, an amazing body, and a drive that makes me wonder why I ever wanted anyone but her. I'd hypnotize her daily, making her feel really good, reinforcing the exercising commands, her triggers I wanted, and making sure she still desired me. I really desire Christy, but there are steps that needed to be taken before I will cross that line to doing something you can't come back from.
Brad has total control over my mind, body, and soul. I gave him that control a long time ago, but now he's using it. I want him to. I just don't know what he's going to do. It is a surprise every time and I love it. One night when he wasn't making calls and we had finished our homework, with a word, I was on my feet, frozen. I could breathe and my eyes would blink, but other than that, I was a mannequin. Brad slowly took my clothes off. Each inch of my body he uncovered he would kiss, leaving tingles of pleasure behind. He got down to my sex and teased me, making me wetter than ever, and he chuckled as my body lubricated enough to run down my leg. He took his time and kisses to get me fully naked. Standing with my fists on hips, legs apart, Brad started pleasuring my sex with his mouth and tongue. I couldn't even moan. I was squeaking as he drew out an orgasm from me. It was a very good orgasm that made me shaking in place for many minutes. I felt everything and wanted more. Brad, that lovable, masculine, considerate fool, asked me what I wanted, so I told him. That was the last thing I said for the rest of the night as I passed out from him giving me another insane orgasm. That was one night. Then there was the night when I couldn't say anything that wasn't extremely sexual. When I said anything to Brad, anything at all, what came out was something like wanting to cover my body with his cum, or face fucking me until I turned blue from lack of air. I knew what I wanted to say and I knew what I had said, and when I tried to correct myself, another extremely sexual offer would come out. I should have written down some of those ideas my subconscious mind had. My favorite was being taken in the ass while a mega vibrator was in my sex and a ball gag was making me drool. Where do I get a mega vibrator discreetly?
Christy and I got arrested. We didn't get charged, and that was a blessing. It was Halloween, and we were looking at costumes for couples. There were so many, but I wanted slutty. Christy suggested something sports-related, like I was a football player and she was a cheerleader. Just on accident I found what I thought were the perfect costumes, simple and revealing. Too revealing. We went to the Halloween party dressed as Adam and Eve from the Bible post-Apple. Yes, Christy was wearing leaves over her tits and sex, and up her butt, held on by glue. I couldn't get away with that, and had flesh-toned underwear with a large leaf over my junk and up where my crack would be. The party was loud, overcrowded, and many people were drinking before they should have. The cops came and took one look at Christy and I, and we were escorted back to my dorm to prove we were who we said we were. Yeah, we didn't have ID. Really, with that kind of costume, where would you have a wallet, phone, or keys? I stashed our stuff in a locker at my dorm with a combination lock on it. After showing the cops who we were and all that, it was advised to us that our next costumes be ones with pockets. I think Christy was really frightened, but a few hypnotic words and she was okay. I did have fun with her when I told her that those handcuffs were still on her wrists and holding her arms behind her back. She loved it despite the complaining at the time.
Being handcuffed was terrifying. Being handcuffed with hypnosis is thrilling. Brad making me helpless, and it is all in my head, but knowing he would never hurt me and always defend me just made things hotter. That was Halloween, and just a few days before Thanksgiving we were at the gym and this slut shows up. I had no idea who this woman was, but she had bigger, clearly fake breasts than I did. She was at least 6 inches taller than me. Her hair was dyed platinum blonde. She had the kind of body that I'd seen on Brad's phone. I saw her, and then I saw Brad saw her, and then he looked at me with a grin. I thought he was going to make some comment about dumping me and going for her. No, he said something I should have expected from a man. I should dye my hair like her. Seriously? I have dirty blonde hair, somewhere between brown and real blonde. Go to a spa and have them bleach my hair the color of snow? Really? I asked Brad how serious he was. Of course, he shrugs and asks if I had ever considered dyeing my hair. I had. Not seriously considered it, but I had thought about going either fully blonde or fully brunette. I had to get my digs in on Brad. Asking if he wanted me to be his big-breasted blonde bimbo? Brad, being Brad, said he didn't want that. He wanted a big-breasted blonde genius. Blonde. 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 Could I pull off blonde?
Christy does not look good fully platinum blonde. When she showed up from wherever women go to get their hair dyed, one look and it was that, honest versus not wanting to fight. Yes, I suggested she dye her hair blonde. Yes, I was totally wrong on this. We gave it a week. Her parents offered to pay anything to have someone come to the house before Thanksgiving to dye her hair a more reasonable color. Apparently, a more reasonable color was not what she was. Christy wanted to see what she would look like with black hair. I thought there was something wrong with my phone when we did a video chat, and her first words were to not freak out, and then she pointed her camera at her head. A dark void of nothingness on her head. I mentioned I'd been helping my father with plumbing in a windowless crawl space when the flashlight died, and it wasn't as black as her hair. What color did I want? What's on the list? We got back from Thanksgiving and Christy had bright, solo cup, red hair. I swear I did not make her choose that color, but it was so strikingly bright, it really did draw one's attention to it. I actually liked it.
He likes it. He really likes it. Seriously, Brad likes my bright red hair. I look like a clown without the curls. I didn't think Brad actually liked it until he was playing with it after a night of almost lovemaking. Fake hair, fake breasts, and I asked Brad if there was anything else that was artificial he wanted to add to me. There was his attempt at jokes saying that implants to make my muscles pop were a question. He teased my developing abs and said that he'd seen women with abdominal implants. I had to see that. I got my phone and we both laughed at some of the pictures. Apparently, these implants are for people who've had surgery and need something to hold their guts in, and they might as well look like bodybuilders, very fake plastic like bodybuilders. I figured I stick to the gym. The red hair was a warning to some and a beacon to others. I had more men hitting on me with the bright red hair than with my dirty blonde. My muscular and developed body. My enhanced chest. My desire to wear tight and revealing clothing. Yet all I could think about was pleasing Brad.
What do you get the love of your life for Christmas? When she has everything. Easy. Get her something she'll never forget or some experience. I set things up as best I could. A horse-drawn carriage from her home to a local theater. I paid to have one screen all for us, to watch her favorite movie, Casablanca, with champagne and fancy snacks. When I said we'd be walking to dinner, she stopped. She looked at me with that love that let me know she was thinking of me. The horse-drawn carriage was gone, so we did have to walk. The restaurant was expensive, but I could afford it, and I told Christy this. Is that where I really wanted to go? Is that what I wanted or what I thought she wanted? I was honest. Christy shook her head and gave me a long and hot kiss. She told me to cancel the reservation. Christy knew. She knew everything. From top to bottom, there was no hiding from her anything. She didn't want a fancy dinner. She could get that any time. She wanted something to celebrate the season. We didn't have to go far to get to a bar and restaurant that had axe and hatchet throwing. Drunk people throwing sharp objects, what could go wrong? Elimination rounds of teams of axe throwers were set up, and we were the nicest dressed couple there. Losers of the round had to sing a Christmas carol outside on the street. Christy and I won the first round, lost the second that put us out on the street, singing Badly Silent Night, and having that posted to the internet for the world to see. It was a blast. I had no idea that Christy even knew how to throw an axe.
I never told Brad I knew how to throw an axe. Sure, I grew up with my father's money to support me. Seeing people that worked for my father having a wonderful time throwing an axe one summer got me interested in doing the same. Those possibly illegal Mexicans got nervous when they first saw me watching them. When I asked for them to show me how, it was like joining a club. That summer I spent flinging heavy heads of metal with a long handle at the bottom end of a tree. When the bottom was splinters, those Mexicans would cut off the splintered part and we had a new fresh target. I was rusty, but it was fun having the feel of the wood in my hands, the momentum of the blade, the wave of my body, and that instinctual feeling of when to let go of the axe. It reminded me of horseshoes where you have to just know when to let go of the metal. Brad was in awe of the wave of my red hair as I swung that axe as hard as I could at the wooden target. Not a tree in this case, but a plywood panel. This was such a fantastic Christmas. Neither of us were ever going to forget it, and that is what I wanted for Christmas. I wanted Brad to fuck me, but I knew what to ask for and what I was going to get.
I was looking for a ring. I started looking before Christmas and after Christmas and most of the first few months of the new year. I was going to ask Christy to marry me. My uncle told me about the smart thing to do. Go to a pawn shop, get a ring with real diamonds there, have a jeweler remove the diamonds, use the gold and some extra gold to get the setting you really want, and then reuse the diamonds into the setting I designed. That's a lot harder than it sounds. My daily hypnosis of Christy got out of her what kind of ring she would want. Leaning a little heavy into the fact I had hypnotic control over her. She wanted a ring, 3 diamonds, with spirals coming off those diamonds. That way she could look at her wedding ring and know she would always and forever be mine, one way or another. Clearly Christy had put more thought into this than I had. I was just glad she didn't remember anything when she was hypnotized.
Brad's up to something. This isn't the Christmas thing. This is something else. What's he hiding? It couldn't be another woman. I mean, it could be. I'm not saying it couldn't, but the likelihood of that being the case is so small to be overlooked. I literally remade myself for him. He couldn't possibly be stepping out on me with another woman. 1, he never would have time, and 2, I would know. I would smell someone else on him. He wouldn't use me for sexual pleasure if he had someone else. I hate secrets. I asked him. He seemed sheepish. Brad didn't want to tell me, but would if I really wanted to know. This was a test. This was a big test. Did I want to know? I hate secrets. Did I trust Brad? With my life. I've already trusted him with my mind, body, and soul. It never bothered me much that I didn't remember what was going on while hypnotized. Did I trust him with whatever secret it was he had? Love trumps all, and I let him have his secret. He did tell me that I would know what was going on soon after we graduated.
The ring was going to take a month to make. That seemed like a long time. I wasn't going to argue with the jeweler. He knew his job better than I did. I think I made Christy mad when I didn't want to tell her about the ring. I wanted it to be a surprise, but if she really wanted to know, I was more than ready to ruin the surprise for her to be happy. I did tell her she'd know what was happening a week after graduation. Did she want to wait that long? No, but she would. For me, I had plans of having lots of fun on our spring break with Christy. I did not have lots of fun on spring break with Christy. I had sent resumes and job applications out to several companies a week before spring break. 5 came back for interviews, and 3 of those were in person, willing to fly me all over the country, setting me up in hotels and grilling me about what I could do for them. Christy had her own job interview, just one, with a hedge fund company. We spent our last week of freedom as stupid college students being smart about where we were going to be after graduation. Christy heard back before I did. If she wanted the job, it was hers after graduation. I got 1 job offer a week after spring break, and then 2 more, and then one of the phone interviews wanted me to come for an in-person interview. Christy and I talked about it. The job closest to her job didn't pay the most or have the best benefits, but it did have a much higher path for advancement to more money and better benefits. Christy then asked me if the ring was obnoxiously large. If I had been drinking something that would have been a spit take. I told her it wasn't, but don't ask any more questions. Then she told me to make her, so I did. I dropped her into a trance. Subconsciously she knew I was going to ask her to marry me, but consciously she wouldn't remember this. She would wonder what I was up to, but the idea of marrying her would not cross her mind. She would just trust me and be patient.
Brad made me forget. I can't believe it. I knew Brad was up to something. It would happen soon after graduation. We were going to move in together, live together, work close enough that this would be possible. What the hell is he up to? A car? A house? A horse? I don't need a horse. I'd like one, but I don't need one. My job will pay more than most right out of college, but not at horse level. Brad was going to be paid a lot more than most right out of college and close to horse level. It's not a horse. He'd not get me a horse without telling me. When I would ask him about it, with the snap of his fingers my mind would shut off, and I'd wake up, usually naked and often doing something sexual to Brad. This would distract me enough to not think about whatever he was up to. It's hard to ask if he's buying me a house while I'm rubbing my naked body against his. I could dip into the bank account and see what's going on, but I trust him. I also love not having control over my mind and body. When I start to ask too much, Brad says a word, and every time I want to know what's going on I start drooling and attack his crotch to suck him off until he unloads into my mouth. Proves him wrong that even with making Brad ejaculate into my mouth 3 times in one night, doesn't stop my brain from working.
It seems so trivial to have finals for people already graduating. I've got the cap, the gown, the cake, and the job. 3 of my 5 classes skipped finals. 2 classes had real finals, but I already had a great grade, so it didn't matter. Christy was pissed that she had to take a final for all of her classes. One class, the final, was asking what grade did they deserve. The only option was an A. The graduation ceremony was a joke. Long-winded speeches from people that might have been important to some people years ago. Hot, tired, and not in the mood. I wished they had just mailed me my sheepskin. I was done and dozed off after the 3rd speaker. I wasn't alone. It took 2 hours to go through everyone who wanted to talk. I think there were a grand total of 5 speakers, and that was 4 people too many and 118 minutes too long. I got my degree and I was out of there. Pictures and more pictures and more videos to have that I'll probably never look at again. Christy and I met up soon after, and so did our parents. Shock me to my core, those 4 actually got along really well. Christy had them hook up before graduation and talk on the phone and over video chats. Was my dad crusty? Yes. Was her father refined? Yes. Did the 2 have common understanding of how business worked? Yes, and that's what they bonded over. My mom and Christy's mother bonded over art. So when the 2 met, they already knew something about each other, and it was a lot less awkward than I had expected. Christy was already on top of things. That's one of the many reasons why I love her.
Stupid man didn't think I'd have angles all planned out for our parents. I learned from the best to get things going long before meeting up with someone. I don't think Brad knew my mother gave his mother's pillowcases away as Christmas gifts. I also don't think he knew that my father and his father are collaborating on investing in companies that are creating the plumbing for developing countries. I'm not saying Brad is stupid, but I don't think he understands how hard I work at making sure things are going smoothly. Which is why I am pissed off at my brain for not letting me think of what the hell Brad is hiding. We were apartment hunting the day after graduation. We settled on a duplex that was still in our price range, but also left more than enough for us to save up for a real house. It was move-in ready, so we started moving things in. I should have suspected something was up when our parents showed up out of the blue when we had just gotten the last of our stuff inside.
I was so fucking nervous. I went down on one knee in front of our crappy duplex and pulled out the box with the ring in it. Why do they make those boxes so chunky when the ring is small as a quarter? The light on Christy's face as soon as she saw the ring was magical. Admittedly, I had to hypnotize her and daily reinforce the command to forget about the ring. But when she saw it, the surprise was worth it. Of course, she said yes. I got the size right, thanks to her mother. It was a celebration all around. That night we went to bed, and for the first time ever we made love. The build-up was worth it. All that stuff we had done before was like candy to a full-course meal. When I finally entered Christy, it felt like being embraced. Feeling her around me made everything good, wonderful, solid. It wasn't fireworks and earthquakes. When Christy and I finally had sex, it was like finally launching a ship. The slow construction, the making and testing, and finally release into where it would be forever. It was great.
Brad fucked me. I exploded with an orgasm almost immediately. I was rocking my hips so hard that I think I hurt something. Brad seemed to be taking things slowly, but fuck that shit. I wanted explosions. I wanted sonic booms. I got leg shaking, wet hip rocking, eye rolling, drooling, convulsions that didn't stop, and I didn't want them to. I was panting like a runner out of shape. I was shaking like someone in the cold. I was naked and sweaty and seeing stars, and nothing was still in and on my body. I wanted more. More and different positions and more, and I was a quivering wet mess by the end. Even drained by everything and leaking from what Brad had given me, I wanted more. I demanded Brad treat me like the sex slave I always wanted to be, and finally he listened. A word and I was on top of him, slamming my hips down while we were making out passionately. He pinched my nipples at the same time, and my mind erupted into pleasure that could only have come from hypnosis. A snap of his fingers and I felt another orgasm detonate inside of me around the head of his dick. A tug on my ear and I couldn't stop myself from saying over and over again, "I am master sex slave." I couldn't stop myself from saying that phrase over and over again, any more than I could stop myself from writing Brad's manhood. I didn't stop. I couldn't stop. I didn't want to stop. "I am master sex slave," came out of my mouth, around my head to my ears, and went into my brain where it rattled around, carving paths where all that remained was the phrase, "I am master sex slave." Master. Brad. Master lowered me down from that high. I was limp, depleted, weak, and more in love with Master than ever before. I looked at him, and in my mind I knew his name was Brad and I could call him that, but calling him Master seemed better, like a word combination that sounded better than others.
Christy wasn't the only one that plans for things. I knew we were going to have sex after I proposed. That was my real secret. I made Christy start taking birth control pills long before we graduated from college. I don't think she realized that's what was going on. I had hypnotized her to believe it was because she'd lost so much fat and built so much muscle mass, she needed the extra estrogen. As true as that is, I didn't think we were ready for children right out of college. I did plan on fucking her as soon as she said yes, and maybe our parents went away, maybe. Sex is great. It is even better when the woman you love, that you've given your heart to, subconsciously admits to being a slave. It didn't take much with our daily hypnotic sessions to make her believe that when we finally had sex, she would see herself as my slave, and thus I would be her master. I'll still daily hypnotize her. Seeing her drop into trance still turns me on. Having her accept me as her master was also a turn-on. She obeys without question. I want her only in a string bikini. She's putting it on, even if we're going out somewhere. She's on a business call. With a note to her, she's giving me a hand job on the couch. When I have to be away from her, I can tell her over the phone that the mega vibrator is actually me, magically behind her, and I am the one pounding into her. Our wedding is going to be a quiet and simple one. Our honeymoon is going to be a wild and active one. I can't wait to see what our lives are going to be like together.
I love my master.
I love my slave.
The end. This was a work of fiction. Any similarity between people, living or dead, is purely coincidence. This scenario did not, or should not, have happened in real life. Thank you for listening.